Welcome once again, this is the Dark Druid. In my latest top 5 list, I said I was going to be making a standalone video for my number 1 and my number 2 pick because simply there was too much information to try to squeeze into a top 5 video. It would have made it too long, and who wants to sit and listen to me yammer for that much time? Oh wait, you're sitting here listening to me yammer for that much time. Okay, well, let's try to keep it to the point. So this is my standalone video for my number 1 pick, Robert Pickton, the pig farmer killer. Now, as you know from my last video, he is a well-known serial killer here in Canada and in the United States, and has a total kill count of somewhere between 6 and 49. It's a pretty prolific number. Now, the reason it's between 6 and 49 is because he actually was convicted of 6 murders. He has confessed to 49 murders, and he was charged with 27 murders. That's a lot of numbers, but this is simply how it worked. The judge in the case decided that he wanted to make sure that Pickton went to prison, so he picked the 6 strongest cases, tried him on those, and he stayed the other ones for later. Well, it worked. He is serving 6 consecutive life sentences. But now some of the details about that case. Now, as I told you, he's known as the pig farmer killer, and he did in fact own a pig farm with his brother. He was a multi-millionaire at one time, and I guess decided to get out of the slaughtering pig business and tried to open his farm up as a non-profit organization aimed at holding, organizing, and coordinating charity events, such as stuff for, well, like Boy Scouts or churches or youth sports teams. But what he actually did with it is he converted his slaughterhouse into a giant dance floor and party house that he regularly held raves and all-night drug-induced dances. Nothing to do with a charity or anything else. It was strictly for him to get his kicks. Now, I also told you in the last video that when he was arrested, they recalled all Pickton Farms meat that people may have had due to the fact that that sausage might not have been pork you were eating. It may have actually been or contained human meat, thinking that was the way he had disposed of the bodies. Because I did misquote in the original video and say there was 27 bodies found, and I should have had my research in front of me when I made the video, but I didn't, and it was actually, there were not 27 found. There were bits and pieces of several bodies found, and other personal items, like such as one being a prescription asthma inhaler with the girl's name on the bottle from her prescription, found in his possession and on his property. There were also teeth, bone chips, jaw bones, and other body parts like that found. And that's what led to the original 27 charges of murder. When he was arrested, more things came to light, such as the biggest one in my opinion. Now, March 23rd, 1997, Pickton was charged with attempted murder of a prostitute. What happened is, he had picked this girl up in Vancouver, drove her back to his farm in Port Coquitlam, they're very close together, had sex with her, and at some point, he's put a handcuff around her wrist, handcuffed her to his bed, then proceeded to get a knife and stab her several times in the abdomen. Well, she managed to get herself free, breaking whatever she was handcuffed to, and stabbed him back, fought him off, and got away. Now, I know a lot of you out there are thinking, why wasn't he in jail? She had several lacerations and the handcuffs around her wrist when she went into the hospital. She went to a nearby emergency room, needless to say, still with a handcuff around her wrist, several stab marks and lacerations, and while she was there being treated for her wounds, there was Robert Pickton being treated for his wounds. The wounds where she got his weapon away from him and stabbed him. In the process of his examination, they happened to find a handcuff key in his pocket, and the nurse used that handcuff key to uncuff the girl's handcuffs. I know a lot of you out there are thinking, why on earth wasn't he arrested for attempted murder? And it basically breaks down to this. The prosecuting attorney believed that since she was a known prostitute and drug addict, that she wouldn't be a very good witness, so he decided to drop the charges against him. Now, since he was actually originally charged with murder, His clothes, since he was covered in evidence, his blood and her blood, were taken into evidence by the RCMP and put on a shelf for testing at a later date. He was never charged, so they were never tested, and they were also never disposed of. Luckily, because in 2004, when he actually went to trial for murder, they do the test on these clothes, and on his boots they find his DNA, the prostitute's DNA, as well as the DNA of 2 murder victims, part of his original 27 charges of murder. But that was in 1997. This is one that, as I promised you, are going to make your head hurt, and this is one of those facts, or at least from my understanding, this has been known as a fact. Someone reportedly said that Robert Pickton had, in fact, bragged to them that he had a freezer full of human meat, that he was, in fact, a cannibal. Well, they decided that a cannibal with a freezer full of human meat was not something they really wanted to have hanging around the neighborhood, so they called the RCMP to have it investigated. And the RCMP promptly went to Robert Pickton's house. They said, "We have a report that you're a cannibal and that you have a freezer full of human meat. Can we look around your farm and your house?" He says yes. They say, "Okay, good enough," and leave. Yeah. They left. They never actually looked at his farm or house or for the alleged freezer full of human meat. That's one of those things that actually makes your head hurt. Because how many lives could they have saved had they just done this? If he was convicted of attempted murder in 1997, how many people would they have saved? How many murders would have been solved? Because let's face it, if they found the DNA of 2 known murder victims on his shoes, then yeah, they would have been able to have said, hey, maybe he killed them. And this would have been 4 years, 5 years before he was actually arrested for murder. I can't seem to find an exact date of when it is reported that this person claimed he had bragged to them that he had a freezer full of meat. That was humans, not pork. And even co-workers on the farm admit he's a rather strange individual, very quiet, hard to strike up a conversation with, and had no known drug or alcohol problems, yet was known to weird mood swings and other behavioral problems. So let's face it, this guy had red flags up all around him a lot, yet he willingly walked around and did what he did for years without ever being arrested. There, of course, is always going to be more to a case than what we cover here in a video or anyone on YouTube can cover, and there's also facts that are going to be known about it that are missed or overlooked, or in some cases, flat outright faked. But this is my video for Robert Pickton. It's hopefully giving you a little more light, a little more clarity into this case. So until then, this is the Dark Druid, and I'll see you again soon.